You have to push to talk, Danny. There's a button up next to the share button. It says talk. You have to hit it.
Austin says his webcam's not getting approved.
Hello, hello, hello. I figured since the ninja isn't ready yet, maybe I could go first.
That ruins my plan.
Well, there's an inside job happening, and they're not letting, the CIA isn't letting Austin's camera work.
Look at how scared he is of you, Danny.
How come I can't see you guys?
We're microphones today.
Oh, do you not want me to run video?
No, you have video. You don't need to look at our ugly mugs, right?
It's you who's in the hot seat, not us.
Oh, okay.
Danny, tell us about a little bit about this impromptu debate you guys have going up at PorkFest in a couple days.
All right, well, basically it started, me and Austin were arguing, you know, and there were some other trolls on both sides of the issue on Facebook about various conspiracies, and somebody suggested, hey, you guys should debate. And so we were like, all right, yeah, sounds good, let's do it at PorkFest. And it's gone out of control. I get more notifications from that event posting on Facebook than I do from the rest of Facebook. So there's people debating all day and night long about various conspiracies. And there's about 100 people, I think, at this point, signed up to come to the event on Saturday at PorkFest.
Do you guys have a stage and stuff like that, or are you guys just doing it out in the common area?
Well, we don't have an official stage yet, but Carla said if there's something available, we can use it. So that's why we don't have the details posted yet. But I'll be up there tomorrow, Thursday, and we'll figure out which stage is going to work and where we're going to have it, and then we'll announce the details. And we will definitely be live streaming. There are several people going to be live streaming. Adam Kokesh, I believe, is going to live stream it. So there'll be plenty of live streams for everybody to be able to watch if they're not there. And it will certainly be up on YouTube soon after.
Who's moderating? Do you guys have a moderator, or is it just going to be the two of you going nuts on each other?
Yeah, Carla Yarrick, who is I believe she's the president, or she's the CEO of the Free State Project currently. She's going to be moderating. Queen Quill, I believe is how she's referred to.
How are you gonna get Austin to shut his mouth for 5 seconds so that you can respond to a question?
I don't know. With me and Austin, it's two pretty big egos going at each other. I think this is going to be pretty epic. This is going to be like Hulk versus the Thing or something like that. Clash of the Titans.
What's your major beef, Danny? What's your major beef with Austin's shenanigans?
My major beef? I don't know. Listen, he has the right to his opinions about conspiracies. I think his opinions are a little naive, but I just don't like being collectivized, and marginalized because of my beliefs or my opinions. All right, looks like Austin's got it working now.
We're going to shut you down for a little bit here. We're going to attack this little man sitting down here in the green room, and we'll see you in a bit.
All right.
I guess we're gold. I guess we're rocking and rolling now. Sorry about that, guys. I just couldn't seem to get that computer working.
All right, Ian, you take over. I'm gonna sit back on this one for a few minutes here.
All right, let's go.
Austin, thanks for coming on.
Who am I speaking to?
This is Ian.
Ian, thanks for having me on, Ian.
All right, Austin, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. In 2008, Bob Barr agreed to attend Ron Paul's third-party press conference, which included Ralph Nader, Cynthia McKinney, and Chuck Baldwin. Last minute, Bob
Hold
Barr...
on.
Whoop.
Bob, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you say that? Can you start that all over again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
In 2008, Bob Barr agreed to attend Ron Paul's third-party press conference, which included Ralph Nader, Cynthia McKinney, and Chuck Baldwin. Last minute, Bob Barr canceled, which sparked a firestorm of controversy. On dailypaul.com, you defended Bob's decision and encouraged people to still vote for Bob Barr on the Libertarian ticket. In February of this year, Bob Barr endorsed Newt Gingrich. Do you still support Bob Barr?
Well, and relative to what? I mean, do I support Bob Barr endorsing Newt Gingrich? No. Do I support Bob getting the Patriot Act and wiretapping? Yes. So, because I like to compartmentalize things, I have to say, what is the best thing for liberty in the short term? Sometimes you have to fight short-term battles, and sometimes you have to fight long-term battles. I think Bob Barr endorsing Newt Gingrich is him looking out for his long-term health. I think that him fighting for, stopping the Patriot Act or reversal of the DOMA Act is something where he's fighting for his for liberty's long-term interests. So, do I still support Bob Barr? I don't support him endorsing Newt Gingrich because I don't support Newt Gingrich myself. Do I support Rand Paul endorsing Mitt Romney? I don't support Rand Paul endorsing Mitt Romney, but I support Rand Paul himself and what he's doing on the floor of the Senate. So you have to be able to sort of compartmentalize things, and if you want to look at overall strategy, you can talk about overall strategy. Bob Barr has not always been a friend of liberty, but sometimes he has. Things like strategy, I support. It's kind of like sticks and carrots. When a dog does a good thing, like a politician is like a dog. When they do something good, you give them a carrot. When they do something bad, you give them the stick. So if Bob and I were to have a conversation, which we do sometimes have, I would give him
Losing you, Austin.
Looks like Austin's having some bandwidth issues. He should pick back up again in a second. If not, I'll close him out and he'll come back up again.
stick. It sounds good to me. Everything sounds good to me.
Now you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I had a fan above me, so I think it was blowing, and the wind was blowing, and it was messing things up. But just to recap that, so do I support Bob Barr endorsing Newt Gingrich? No, because I don't support Newt Gingrich.
Wasn't the fan.
Austin Petersen, you're doing this on purpose because you can't handle the heat. Hold on.
Sheriff Mack had to reschedule for next week.
But when Bob wireless, and it looks like I've got a full signal, so am I breaking up?
You were, but it seems like you're back now, so continue.
Okay, so anyways, I don't support the endorsement of Newt Gingrich because I'm not a Newt Gingrich fan myself, but Bob Barr did a lot of good after he converted to a libertarian when he fought the Patriot Act and DOMA and wiretapping. You know, you're never going to get a perfect candidate, guys. Unfortunately, you know, there's only one Ron Paul, so we've got to make do with what we have and try and use these politicians to fight for me in the ways that we can. Sometimes they screw up, and we should let them know. Certainly, an endorsement of Newt Gingrich is is not an endorsement of liberty. But I do work with Barr from time to time. Whenever he's working on libertarian issues, then that's when I work on Barr. But whenever he's doing something that I don't endorse, that's when I'm nowhere to be found. So can we talk about something people care about? They don't want to talk about Bob Barr. They don't care.
Yes, but before we continue, can you come back on with just the mic instead of the video? That might help with the bandwidth.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
I think he's good now, Ian. Let's give it another shot like this.
Yeah, give it another shot, and let's see if we can make it happen.
I think you're okay now. Ian, next question.
Okay, what's the next question?
All right, this is known as a softball. Is Fox News fair and balanced?
Hmm?
Yes or no? Is Fox News fair and balanced?
That question is actually not balanced. That question is not actually fair and balanced, because who is Fox News? Are you a libertarian or not? Do you believe in individual liberty or not? Are you asking who the president of Fox News is? Is he fair and balanced? Or are you asking, is the general population of Fox News fair and balanced? So why don't you ask me a more specific question, and I can give you a specific answer.
The overall amount of programming that goes out on Fox News, would you generalize it as fair and balanced?
What, versus MSNBC?
No, versus just them. Are they fair and balanced? Do they fairly report on the issue at hand?
You can't dodge a question when the whole entire question is based on the slogan for the network.
Because here's the thing, it's all relative. You have to ask yourself, is Fox News fair and balanced in terms of the overall media? So is Fox News fair and balanced in the sense that in terms of the media in the United States, is it overwhelmingly liberal, and does Fox represent a majority conservative viewpoint to balance against the liberal establishment of media? Yeah, absolutely. But is Fox News fair and balanced against itself? They tend to lean a little bit more conservative and libertarian. John Stossel still does work there, and Fox News is their senior judicial analyst. So are they balanced? Well, no, they tend to lean more conservative and libertarian rather than liberal, although most of the employees, the actual employees that work in Fox, are actually liberals. But that's because they're headquartered in New York City. So that's...
Okay, Austin, you're breaking up. So you're breaking up again, so let's try the mic.
Okay, let's just do the mic, and I'm just going to... I guess, can you guys shut me down on your own, or...
I'm going to stop you from broadcast. Yeah, there you go. Just come back up again and pick mic only, I guess. Look at what happens to the room when Fox News starts being the topic of conversation. Allison. Who in the room by saying aye is going to Pork Fest, and I'm going to bring back up Austin right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I can't use my dreamy bedroom eyes.
Nope, all your looks are...
All right, so come on, guys. Hit me with hard questions. You guys are asking these softballs. Give me something hard. I hope the debate isn't like this on Saturday because I'm just going to diss Danny. Okay, here, Andrea has a really good question. Am I going to vote Mitt Romney? Hell no! Hell to the no! Hell no! How's that?
God, seriously.
I'm not voting for Mitt Romney.
Have you heard about Robbie Wells, Austin Petersen?
No, I've not. Okay, you guys want to give me some questions? Give me some tough questions, guys. Come on, come on. I know, like, you guys are just like, you're really disappointing me right now.
Austin,
Hmm?
why do you think that that 9/11 was a bunch of men with box cutters on planes and nothing else?
You know why? Because I listened to the conversation.
Oh, here we go. See? Convenient.
Side. Any other questions?
Well, we didn't hear the answer to that one because you guys you're really breaking up a lot. Sadly.
All right, hold on. Let me try one last thing to make this work. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, everyone's saying not to answer this question yet and wait for Saturday.
Okay, so the reason that I think that it was men with box cutters is because I heard the transcripts of the conversations of the people who called their families before they were killed, before they died, like on Flight 93. And I don't believe that people who are getting ready to die in an airplane are going to be lying to their family. So that's why. So what's the next question?
I am not allowed to ask any other questions about 9/11 until Saturday.
Okay, all right. Well, what's the next question then? You want to talk about vaccines? You want to talk about...
Yeah. We have a whole bunch of questions. You know what, Austin? Austin, take questions from the room.
Okay, so I'm seeing... All right. Hold on. Okay, okay. Allison actually asked, anarchist Allison actually asked a real question. She says that I would separate non-vaccinated children from vaccinated children. And the reason is because if you believe in property rights, okay, if you choose to follow science and to listen to science and understand how herd immunity works, then if you choose not to get vaccinated and you contract a disease, right? If you contract disease like polio or mumps or measles, and you blow your disease all over someone who chose to get vaccinated, then you're violating their property rights. So yes, I would separate children who are not vaccinated from children who are vaccinated. No, it's not Zomni, it's not vaccination. People who are vaccinated will be protected. No, because that's not how herd immunity works. Because herd immunity means that you have to have a majority of people in a herd actually get the immunity. You have to have them get the vaccine. Because if not, then there is a good chance that people will die. If a minority of within a vaccinated, they could still die. Because what happens is the people who are not vaccinated, they will contract a more powerful version of the virus. Because that's what happens. If you've ever taken biology, then what happens is that evolution uses germs and diseases to get more powerful because they have to contend with the vaccines. So if you you only have a minority of vaccinated in any population, then the people who are not vaccinated will breed a more powerful version. That's why you have, for example, that's why you have to have more powerful. What's the word for when you're sick? Antibiotics. That's why antibiotics have to get more and more powerful, because the germs that cause sicknesses, they get more and more and more powerful. It's the same concept with vaccines. So if you're not vaccinated, a more powerful version of a measles or mumps or polio disease. That's why it's more important for people to take vaccines, because if a majority of people are vaccinated, it's much less possible for it's much less of a chance for people to actually get the disease. So what's the next question? Any more brain busters, guys? You can get this stuff off of Wikipedia. Jeez. Okay. I'm trying to.
Austin, you're pretty much, what you're doing is you're pretty much telling every single person that's using, opening up their minds to other avenues of thought and kind of looking beyond what the government force feeds us, that they're idiots. And that's, I think, what pisses everybody off.
Okay. So then when you tell people that they're idiots for being statists, you think that that's perfectly fine. But when I tell you that you don't read any of the scientific journals and you don't listen to any doctor who actually went to medical school, and you think that it's not okay for me to tell those people that they're idiots, right? So it's okay for you to call people a statist because their philosophy has been totally debunked. But when your philosophy has been totally debunked and I kill your sacred cow, you think that that's not legitimate?
I think that the fact that you're walking a line where you care only about what authority is telling you.
You really think Austin Petersen, the Freedom Ninja, the guy who fights authority every single day, the guy who's trying to look at the establishment. When Penn and Teller, when Michael Shermer, when lots of big name libertarians, when Judge Napolitano, when people who are totally sane and rational believe in the science that shows that vaccines actually save lives, you tell me that I'm shilling for the establishment? Are you serious?
I never really said that. You just said that. I never said you were shilling for anyone. What I'm trying to tell you is how people perceive what you're saying.
Hey, well, come on, don't ask me. Ask your friend Andrea Pisani here, who says you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to be a libertarian. Okay, there's conspiracy theories and there's conspiracy facts.
Just because people don't, everybody thought that the JFK assassination was a conspiracy theory too, until all of a sudden it's not a conspiracy theory anymore, is it? So you can downgrade people's beliefs. I'm going to finish this thought.
I didn't hear it.
Finish this thought, and then you can continue. You can downgrade people's beliefs and people not trusting what the government tells them, and people understanding what goes into vaccines, some vaccines, not all, and understanding the politics and the money behind all big pharma. And
what are you? Are you a libertarian or not? Like, are you for money making or not? Are we for capitalism or not? Listen, Alex Jones is making money hand over fist off of you guys, and you're sucking down all of his bullshit.
Listen, when you're making money and you're not killing people, I'm all for it.
It's honest capitalism. It's honest capitalism when somebody lies to you and tells you about GMOs and all the vaccine BS. Really? So that's honest capitalism. But
So Monsanto now is also just fine and dandy. Let them do whatever they want to our food. That's good?
It's a different topic. That's crony capitalism. Of course I don't support crony capitalism. I support real capitalism, laissez-faire capitalism, anarcho-capitalism. But just because I believe that vaccines work, because I've actually read the science behind it, because I don't believe Jenny McCarthy and some stupid actors and what they say about it, that doesn't mean that I like Monsanto. It doesn't mean that I'm for crony capitalism.
But you think that big pharma is laissez-faire capitalism? Seriously?
Absolutely not. Do you want to talk crony capitalism, or do you want to talk about science? Because we're talking about science, or we're talking about crony capitalism. But let's not blend the two.
Let's not even just take vaccines out of it for a second, because we've got your views on that, right? So let's talk about how they overprescribe painkillers and they kill more people than many other drugs do, and how doctors
people have the right to do what they want with their bodies. Do you have the right to take a painkiller if you want? Is that your body? Do you own your body?
Of course, but that's not big business to you. That's not crony to you.
So what are you trying to say? That the doctors are over?
I'm trying to say that big pharma is in bed with the government and both profit off one another. And if you can honestly sit here and tell me that you don't believe that that's the case, I'm going to be out of I don't even know what to say. I'm just.
It is the case. It is the case that big pharma and the government are in bed with one another. But that does not mean that it's some sort of evil conspiracy that they're trying to poison us. It just means that they're trying to get. It just means that they're trying to get handouts. It just means that they're trying to get advantages over small pharma. Big pharma was small pharma at one point. One day, and then one day they became big pharma. And the reason they became big pharma was because they got in bed with the government and they shut out competition. But small pharma wants to sell the same drugs to you that big pharma wants to sell you. But guess what? The same drugs are the same drugs, and people get to take the drugs that they want to take. Listen, I know a lot of you people on drugs. I can tell from the chat room that a lot of you people are smoking something. I wish I had it. But I'm telling you right now, people get to choose the drugs that they want to take. And if you've got a problem with big pharma, then you've got to ask yourself something. Guess what? People choose to take drugs. Big pharma doesn't go out there and force drugs down people's throats. So if you want to use drugs, you choose drugs.
Austin,
so don't big pharma for getting in there.
Austin, we have to wrap up this segment, but just real quick before you go, what would you give if you still there, Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, just real quick, we're gonna have Danny come on. Any advice for Danny before you debate him in Porkfest?
I would say if I could give Danny some advice, and I really shouldn't, because if we're going to have a fair debate, I don't want to give my cards away. But Danny, don't point at holes and say, that's evidence. Point at evidence and say, that's evidence. You don't say that there was a blank, there was a hole here, there was a gap here, and so I asked the question and I assume this. That's not how science works. Science takes evidence and puts together evidence so that you have bit by bit by bit until you have a full unified theory. So Danny, don't point at holes, point at evidence. And then don't ask the question, state the fact. All right, buddy? I love you. I'll see you soon. See you this weekend.
All right, man. I actually agree with what Austin was saying about people having the right to do drugs, and Big Pharma has the right to sell whatever drugs they want. This is a completely separate issue from whether or not it's okay or whether or not it's good for you to take said drugs. Yeah, do I believe that people should be able to buy cocaine if they want? Yeah. Is it good to take cocaine? No. I call cocaine New World Order poison. So these are two separate issues, but that's the problem, is that there's so many straw man arguments that we have to cut through the straw man arguments. And Austin Slate's straw, what did he say? Sacred cows? They're straw sacred cows because there are other arguments. And I agree with Austin about there's a lot of people in the truth movement that hold on to a lot of the straw arguments like sacred cows, and they worship them and they repeat them over and over again, and they hold on to them, and they don't listen when somebody criticizes that straw man argument. They don't listen, and then they want to defend it, and then they make themselves look like fools. So I completely agree with you. And Austin, the only hole I'm going to talk about is the hole in the Pentagon that had no plane sticking out of it. But we'll leave that for Saturday. I don't want to get into that because I'm going to have a lot of fun talking about the real issues and not the straw man arguments about 9/11 being an inside job.
Danny, really quickly, there's some people down there asking about what time and stuff the debate is on Saturday.
Well, we haven't figured out a time yet because we're trying to figure out when when there's a venue going to be available. So we will probably have to announce the time Friday morning. But find the event on Facebook. Can somebody, or maybe I can do it real quick. I'll post the link to the Facebook event in the chat room, and you can just check that out Friday. I'll be getting there Thursday, and we can figure out what the venue and the time is going to be.
Danny.
There will definitely be live streamers. Adam Kokesh will be live streaming, among other people as well. So we will definitely have live streams going on.
Danny.
Yes.
You would agree that like a lot of people in the conspiracy theory movement really support Alex Jones a lot, right?
Sure.
So, do you believe Alex Jones has ever participated in disinformation?
It's hard to say. I don't believe that Alex Jones is a disinfo agent. Does that mean he probably has passed out disinfo? Sure. I don't agree with Daniel Barron that he's a Zionist and all that nonsense. I think Alex does a lot. I think Alex has a very wide approach, and he appeals to a very, he's kind of like the mainstream media of the truth movement. He has a very broad appeal and brings in masses of people into our movement. Ron Paul has his set of people that he appeals to. Jeff Rentz and David Icke and all these other personalities have the people that they bring in. But Alex Jones has the widest audience, and there's a reason for that. It's because of kind of the entertaining way he presents the information, and it attracts people to him. So, I don't fault him for that. He wakes up more people than pretty much anybody, including Ron Paul. So I really can't.
Danny, so you're saying that, Alex Jones has made a few mistakes or questionable judgments here and there, but overall he does good for the movement.
Sure.
So why wouldn't, were you against Rand endorsing Romney?
Yes.
Now, some would argue that Rand endorsed Romney for the benefit of the movement because we would be, getting inside and eventually we'll get to the White House. So couldn't that argument still be applied?
No, I think that argument is nonsense. I don't think that will never happen. I don't care even if they did promise Rand that in exchange for that endorsement, it's never going to happen. They're never going to fulfill those promises. I think Adam Kokesh broke it down beautifully in his video. The only thing I would add to Adam's arguments is that when you sacrifice your principles and you do things like this, there is a karmic there will be a karmic backlash. That will come back, and it will bite the liberty movement. It will bite Rand Paul in the rear end in the future, and it will come back to him. And that is why I always think the principled approach, and that's why I'm done with politics, because you cannot be involved in politics and be principled. You have to make compromises like this. So I understand Rand Paul wants to play the game. That's the venue he's chosen. As for his quote-unquote libertarian activism, that's fine. But for me, I think that sticking to your principles has a karmic effect. Now imagine Rand Paul had not endorsed Mitt Romney and said, you know what, I'm endorsing my dad and blah, 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 and I'm sticking to my principles. Just imagine how the liberty movement would have swelled and been galvanized even more. But instead, we're falling prey to infighting and all this, the Rand supporters versus the idealistic ones who are criticizing Rand, and all it has done has hurt the momentum of the liberty movement. And I, for one, I cannot wait for this election to be over. Whether it's Romney or Obama really doesn't matter, because then we can get the Pauls out of our mind and we can move forward in liberty. And not be so obsessed with another. See, Ron Paul gets the same amount of worship that Alex Jones does, and I'm critical of all of it. I've always said, do not put all your eggs in Ron Paul's basket. He cannot save us. He's not going to stop economic collapse. Yes, would I prefer him to be in office to deal with economic collapse? Absolutely, 100%. But that's not going to happen. Ron Paul is not even trying for that to happen. At this point, he's collecting delegates to use his political capital to make a deal, which is fine. He's also, I do want to give him credit, the delegate strategy was excellent, because now there are Ron Paulers who have infiltrated and have taken over some Republican committees in some places. I think it's a great strategy that we've kind of taken over, in some sense, the Republican Party. But I think that we always have to stand by our principles, no matter what the cost. And I don't ever think that just karma alone will come back and get you. But I think it would have been much better for Rand Paul to endorse his father or endorse liberty, maybe even Gary Johnson, even though I don't really think he's too great of a libertarian. If you think that Rand Paul endorsed Romney without his father's permission, well, then I have no words, because there's no way Rand Paul would have
Danny, you just said you have no plans to run for office again because you can't run for office without compromising.
Well, I do have okay, maybe that was not a correct statement. I'm considering possibly running a paper campaign against my congressman. I'm not sure yet, but it certainly would not be I certainly would not be violating any principles to do it.
If you run, do you think you could realistically win and still discuss conspiracies like 9/11?
If I run and win?
No. If you run, do you think you have a realistic chance of winning if you continue to discuss conspiracies like 9/11 and other stuff?
No, I don't think I have a realistic chance of winning if I didn't discuss. I just said I'm going to run a principled campaign. A principled campaign cannot win. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't run principled campaign. Winning the election is not the be-all, end-all.
So the goal is just to spread the message.
That's right. That is the most important thing, because the more people that wake up to liberty, the electoral system won't matter. I was upset that Rand didn't give him an interview, but at the same time, Rand doesn't know who Luke is, so as far as he's concerned, it could just be another gotcha journalist who's trying to catch him who's not a supporter. So I think that Luke went about it in a nice way. He asked the questions very respectfully. It would have been nice for Rand to answer him, but at the same time, it's unrealistic. Rand is a politician, and he's not going to agree to an unscripted interview.
What's going on with True Squad TV?
Well, we're always working on trying to improve our equipment, and we're hoping to find a space in Brooklyn to build a studio. We're in the process of looking right now, and then we can do more regular content. But I'm really excited about this debate with Austin, because I think this is gonna be very entertaining, and I think that the information that I'm going to present, obviously I can never prove that 9/11 was an inside job. That's really not the purpose of the Truth Movement. The purpose of the Truth Movement was to prove that there's enough evidence that we should be demanding a real investigation. And then that investigation hopefully would lead to some sort of conclusion. And I know that I can prove with hard facts, documents, and evidence that there is enough evidence to require a new investigation, and it pretty much erases all doubt that there was not somebody on the inside. I'm not saying George Bush helped plan 9/11, but there had to be someone on the inside at the very least, funneling information out to the terrorists, if not greater relationships than that.
I think Jesus himself could come down from the skies and tell people it was or wasn't an inside job, and there would still be skeptics, no matter what.
Yeah, well, of course, there's cognitive dissonance, and there's also people have an emotional kind of connection to 9/11, and they don't want to let that go, and it's much easier to identify an outside enemy because it doesn't require you to change your life. The Pentagon's taking care of it. They're invading and killing all these radical Muslims, but if it's our own government, then it requires you to change your life and stand up and do something, and most people are not really ready to do that. My battery's about to die, so you're gonna lose me. So thanks for having me on, and I hope everybody, if you can't make it to PorkFest, that you can check out the stream. Here's the link, Facebook event. We will post the streams on that link while it's happening, and the videos will be posted there afterward.
Danny, thanks for coming on. You can visit Danny's site, truthsquad.tv.
All right, guys, take care. Have a good night.
All right, we wrapped up a little early. Coming up at 10 is the Ron Paul girl, and she has on tonight one of the lawyers who is helping to sue the GOP on behalf of Ron Paul. So that's coming up at 10. Thanks for listening, guys.